Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name's Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Jeff Banning. Today marks the centenary anniversary of the Battle of Rafah, the third and final battle to complete the recapture of the Sinai Peninsula by Allied forces. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal Joseph Henry Murray, whose story will be told shortly, and His Excellency Mr Chris Seed, High Commissioner, New Zealand High Commission. We also welcome Mr Peter Everly, President, RSL ACT Branch, who is joining us this evening and will be laying a wreath. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. Could I ask you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem? If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Joseph Murray, who was killed while fighting in Palestine during the First World War. Joseph Henry Murray was born in 1879 and was one of 10 children of Patrick and Catherine Murray of Petone near Wellington in New Zealand. He attended school in the Wellington area and migrated to Australia in 1903. After working as a miner in Broken Hill, Murray was in Wauchope on the New South Wales mid-north coast at the outbreak of the First World War and enlisted in October 1914. After a period of training in Sydney at Rose Hill Camp and Holsworthy, he embarked for Egypt as an establishing member of the 7th Light Horse Regiment. Originally destined for Europe, the AIF received orders to proceed to Egypt as to meet the threat posed by Ottoman Turkey to British interests, and so spent months training at Mina Camp near Cairo before being drawn into the fighting at Gallipoli in April 1915. When the 1st Division left in early April to make an amphibious assault on the Gallipoli Peninsula, the Light Horse remained in Egypt, but they were quickly brought in as dismounted reinforcements. Murray landed on Gallipoli in May 1915 and helped the 1st Division hold part of the line in the Lone Pine area. After particularly participating in bitter fighting throughout the August offensive, he was evacuated to Cairo suffering from dysentery and general debility. He returned to Gallipoli in November, only to return to Egypt when the British forces withdrew the following month. Back in Egypt, the AIF trained and underwent a major restructure in preparation for the fighting on the Western Front. It effectively doubled in size, with new units being formed from a nucleus of experienced officers and NCOs with experience at Gallipoli. Having participated in the defence of the Suez Canal against Turkish troops advancing across the Sinai Desert, Murray was transferred to the Imperial Camel Corps, which was formed in January 1916 in order to deal with the revolt of pro-Turkish Senussi tribesmen in Egypt's Western Desert. British commanders in Egypt appreciated the fighting qualities of the Cameliers, so in mid-1916, around the time Murray joined his new regiment, the Imperial Camel Corps was transferred to the Sinai Desert to participate in operations against the Ottoman Turks. He was mustered as a trooper in the 3rd Battalion, an all-Australian formation within a corps made up of Australian, New Zealand and British elements. Murray was promoted to corporal in November and participated in the major action in the Sinai that defined the Desert Mounted Corps campaign in the Western Desert in late 1916, fighting at Romani in August and Magdabar in December. He was also involved in the action at Rafah on the 9th of January 1917. During the day-long assault on the Turkish garrison at El Maghretian, the Turks defended a series of fortified redoubts and trenches situated on rising ground surrounded by flat grasslands. They were eventually encircled by the Australian Light Horse, the New Zealand Mounted Rifles and mounted British Yeomanry, armoured cars and the Cameliers of the Imperial Camel Corps. Rafah was a victory for the Desert Mounted Corps as it pushed into Palestine, but it came at a price, with 71 men killed and 415 wounded. Among those killed in action was Joseph Murray. He was 38 years old. He was buried near where he fell at El Maghretian and was later reinterred at El Arish Military Cemetery. After the war, he was reinterred at Kantara War Memorial Cemetery, where he rests today. A small epitaph penned by his grieving parents, reads, "Nobly he did his duty, died for king and country." Joseph Murray is listed on the roll of honour to my right among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is just one of the many stories of courage and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Joseph Murray, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you a very good evening. Thank you.